The stars had always looked down on Earth with indifference, but tonight they would witness something unprecedented. What if the galaxy looked at Earth as weak? What if we showed them just how powerful we truly are? For centuries, humanity had been nothing more than a footnote in the cosmic ledger, a primitive species barely worthy of notice. But sometimes, the most dangerous enemies are the ones you underestimate. Commander Elena Maddox stood on the observation deck of the orbital defense platform, watching the blue marble of Earth rotate slowly beneath her. The irony wasn't lost on her, she was protecting a world that the rest of the galaxy considered barely worth conquering. Earth had joined the galactic community 50 years ago, not as equals, but as subjects. The Galactic Council, a consortium of 12 ancient species, had decreed humanity's place in their order, resource providers, manual laborers, and little else. Humans were young, technologically inferior, and possessed no natural advantages that impressed the galaxy's elder races. The Zenthari had their psychic abilities, the Chronax their impenetrable exoskeletons, the Veil their mastery over quantum physics. Humans had nothing special. Maddox knew better. She had earned her rank during the Martian insurgency, where outnumbered human forces had held off a Zenthari occupation for 3 brutal years. She had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their bodies, it was in their refusal to give up when everything seemed hopeless. The communication panel chimed, interrupting her thoughts. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the hologram, his expression grim. Maddox, we've received another ultimatum from the Council. They're demanding 80% of our industrial output, immediate conscription of our military forces into their ranks, and the surrender of our governing autonomy. Maddox's jaw tightened. How long do we have? 7 days to comply, or they'll begin orbital bombardment of major population centers. The weight of extinction pressed down on her shoulders. Earth had complied with every previous demand, each one stripping away more of humanity's dignity and resources. But this wasn't just oppression anymore, this was the slow strangulation of an entire species. In the council chambers of Zirion Prime, the representatives barely glanced at the Earth dossier as they discussed humanity's fate. The humans grow restless, hissed Overlord Vextar of the Zenthari, his crystalline eyes reflecting the chamber's ambient light. Our psychic networks detect increased resistance sentiment among their population. Chancellor Kryn of the technological hegemony waved a dismissive appendage. Sentiment means nothing without capability. Their most advanced warships are centuries behind our standard patrol vessels. What can they do? Throw rocks at us? The assembled council members shared what passed for laughter among their species. Earth wasn't even worth a proper invasion force, a single battle cruiser could level their largest cities. Back on Earth, the mood was far from the council's casual dismissal. In military installations across the planet, commanders struggled with impossible orders. How do you defend a world when your enemy's scouts could destroy your entire fleet? How do you inspire hope when the mathematics of warfare made victory impossible? Maddox walked through the halls of the Geneva Command Center, watching the faces of her fellow officers. She saw fear, yes, but also something else, a burning resentment that had been growing for decades. Humanity had been patted on the head like obedient pets for too long. Lieutenant Rodriguez approached her with the latest intelligence reports. Commander, we've been monitoring Council communications. They're not even considering our military as a threat. Their primary concern is maintaining production schedules after the pacification. Pacification. Maddox tasted the word like poison. That's what they called genocide when it was performed efficiently. She thought of her daughter, playing in a park in New Geneva, unaware that her entire future hung in the balance. She thought of the millions of humans across the solar system who had never asked for this conflict but would pay the price for it. The emotional weight wasn't just about survival, it was about dignity, about the right to exist as free beings rather than managed resources. The galaxy had made a fundamental miscalculation, they had confused restraint with weakness. The final warning arrived on a Tuesday. Maddox stood in the Situation Room as the Council's ultimatum played on the main screen. Supreme Chancellor Mordun's voice carried the casual authority of someone swatting an insect. The species designation, human, has 48 hours to provide complete governmental surrender documents. Failure to comply will result in immediate orbital bombardment of primary population centers, followed by systematic reduction of industrial capacity and population to sustainable levels. The room fell silent. 48 hours to choose between slavery and extinction. Admiral Chen looked around the table at Earth's senior command staff. Recommendations? The discussion that followed was painful to witness. Every tactical analysis concluded the same thing: resistance was suicide. Earth's entire military couldn't destroy a single Council dreadnought, let alone their assembled fleet. But Maddox wasn't thinking about mathematics anymore. She was thinking about a lesson learned in the Martian caves, where surrounded human forces had somehow turned a hopeless situation into victory through sheer bloody-minded refusal to accept defeat. She stood up. "We fight." The room erupted in protests. "Commander, the casualties, the orbital platforms alone, will be committing genocide on our own species, no." Maddox's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "We've been committing suicide for 50 years, one compromise at a time. They want us to kneel. We don't kneel. We don't forget. We don't forgive threats against our children." She activated the global communication array without authorization, her image broadcasting to every human settlement from Luna to Titan. "Citizens of Earth, this is Commander Elena Maddox. In 36 hours, the Galactic Council expects our complete surrender. They expect us to hand over our freedom, our children's future, and our right to exist as human beings." Her voice carried across every inhabited world in the solar system. "They've made a mistake. They think we're weak because we're young. They think we're helpless because our technology is primitive. They're about to learn what every successful predator knows: the most dangerous prey is the kind that has nothing left to lose." The broadcast ended, and the room stared at her in shocked silence. What she had just done was irreversible. Earth would fight or Earth would die, but it would no longer bow. Admiral Chen was the first to speak. "Commander, you've just committed all of humanity to a war we cannot win." Maddox met his gaze steadily. "No, Admiral. I've committed us to a war we cannot afford to lose. There's a difference." Within hours, the declaration had reached the Council chambers. For the first time in their recorded history, a client species had openly defied them. The shock rippled through the galactic community, not because anyone believed Earth could win, but because no one had thought them capable of such defiance. Supreme Chancellor Mordun's response was swift: "So be it. The human experiment ends tomorrow." Earth had 18 hours to prepare for extinction. But Maddox had been preparing for this moment for 3 years. While the Council saw primitive humans with outdated technology, they had missed the fundamental nature of human warfare: adaptation. Earth's military had spent decades studying every piece of alien technology they could access, every tactical doctrine they could observe. They had learned the galaxy's rules of engagement, its strategic assumptions, its technological dependencies. Now they were going to break every single rule. "Initiate Protocol Spartacus," Maddox commanded from the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's newest and most secret weapon. Built in the asteroid belt using salvaged alien technology and human innovation, it was a ship designed for one purpose: to prove that humans were not the galaxy's pets. Across the solar system, humanity revealed its hidden hand. The mining operations on Ceres weren't just extracting minerals, they had been building a fleet of stealth ships using sensor-dampening technology reverse-engineered from captured alien probes. The research stations orbiting Jupiter had been developing weapons that turned the Council's own defensive systems against them. The seemingly primitive human communication networks had been mapping every Council ship movement for years. The Council fleet arrived expecting to find a cowering world ready for bombardment. Instead, they found empty space. "Where are they?" Admiral Krextor of the Third Fleet demanded as his sensors showed no sign of Earth's defensive platforms. His answer came in the form of antimatter charges detonating inside his flagship's reactor core. Ships that had been dismissed as debris or space junk suddenly activated weapons systems and swarmed the massive council vessels like angry wasps. Earth's strategy was surgical precision over brute force. Instead of trying to outgun ships they couldn't match, they targeted life support, power distribution, and command centers. Council crews found their own ships turning against them as human computer viruses, delivered by those dismissed research probes, corrupted their systems. Maddox watched the battle unfold from the Defiance's command center, her voice calm as she coordinated the attack. Beta Wing, target the command vessel's sensor array. Gamma Wing, prepare for boarding action on the disabled cruiser. Remember, we're not trying to win a conventional battle. We're proving a point. The point became clear as Council ships began disappearing from their formations. Not destroyed, captured. Human boarding teams, equipped with suits reverse-engineered from alien technology and armed with weapons designed specifically to counter each species' advantages, moved through Council ships like ghosts. But the most devastating weapon wasn't technological, it was psychological. This is Commander Elena Maddox of the United Earth Defense Force, her voice broadcast across all Council communication channels. You came here expecting to slaughter sheep. You found wolves instead. Every ship you've lost today, every crew member who will never return home, that blood is on your hands, not ours. You could have left us alone. You could have treated us as equals. Instead, you chose to threaten our children. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the Council's expeditionary fleet had been decimated. Of the 24 vessels that had arrived to pacify Earth, 7 limped away heavily damaged, 8 had been captured intact, and 9 had been completely destroyed. The cost to humanity was severe, over 10,000 casualties across the fleet, but they had achieved the impossible. They had defeated the Galactic Council in open warfare. As Maddox surveyed the debris field that had once been humanity's death sentence, she felt no triumph. Only the grim satisfaction of a point proven. Her communication officer approached with a message from Zirian Prime. Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Supreme Chancellor Mordun. They're requesting a ceasefire. The galaxy had been watching. What had begun as a routine pacification operation had become the most significant military upset in galactic history. The footage spread through every trade route and communication network, primitive humans not just fighting back, but winning. Maddox stood once again on Earth's orbital platform, but the view had changed. Where once there had been only monitoring stations and defensive platforms, now there was a fleet. Ships of human design, incorporating the best of both terrestrial ingenuity and captured alien technology. The blue marble below remained the same, but its context had fundamentally shifted. The new treaty negotiations were different. The Council no longer dictated terms to humanity. They negotiated as equals, wary equals, but equals nonetheless. The human delegation had made their position clear: Earth would contribute to galactic civilization, but as partners, not subjects. Commander Maddox, Admiral Chen joined her at the observation window. The Council has agreed to our territorial sovereignty terms. Full autonomy within the Sol system, equal representation in galactic affairs, and reparations for the past 50 years of exploitation. Maddox nodded, but her expression remained thoughtful. Victory had come at a cost beyond the battlefield casualties. Humanity had earned its place at the galactic table, but they had also revealed themselves as something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The galaxy would never again see them as harmless. What are you thinking? Chen asked. I'm thinking about the next species the Council decides to pacify, Maddox replied. And whether they'll have anyone to stand with them when their turn comes. She turned to look at her superior officer. We didn't just win a war, Admiral. We changed the rules. Every oppressed species in the galaxy watched what happened here. They saw that the Council can bleed. In the weeks that followed, reports began filtering in from across the galaxy. The Helix Confederation was demanding renegotiation of their tributary status. The frontier worlds were refusing to honor their resource quotas. 3 minor species had formed a mutual defense pact. The galaxy was no longer the Council's private garden, and humanity was no longer its most overlooked weed. As Maddox prepared for her new role as Earth's first galactic ambassador, she carried with her the lesson that had saved her species: sometimes the greatest strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the refusal to be destroyed. The stars no longer looked down on Earth with indifference. Now they watched with respect, curiosity, and just a hint of fear. After all, humans had proven something that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come: when you push the peaceful too far, you don't get submission. You get war. The story of humanity's ascension became legend, studied in military academies and political science courses across the galaxy. It served as both inspiration for the oppressed and warning for the oppressors: underestimate the human spirit at your own peril.